Hey, everybody, and thanks for joining us with Journeys with Kendall Irvin. And by the way, I am Kendall Irvin. I am really, really excited about our guest today. This is the first time that I've met her, but I've heard so much about her. And I saw one of your speeches too, which is really, really cool. I want to talk a little bit about that. But we have with us today a singer, songwriter, and music therapist, among other things, Amanda Martindale from, for right now, Oklahoma.
Oklahoma,
Right?
yeah.
All right. Well, it is great to, first of all, finally meet you in person.
Yes.
And I know you've got some exciting things to tell us about and some things that maybe some struggles that you went through and kind of how you've dealt with those. So let's start with, where were you raised? Here in Oklahoma?
Yes, I grew up in the same house from age 3 up until I graduated high school in Northwest Oklahoma City.
Okay.
Went to Putnam City Central Elementary and Middle School, and then Putnam City High School. And yeah, I had I was fortunate. I had a very good upbringing.
Were you into music when you were in high school? And
I was definitely. I knew I always wanted to sing and act and things like that. So I was in drama and choir. And
right. So you were in the drama department. Did you do? Because like we had speech and drama. Did you do speech too?
I didn't actually. They did have it, but I didn't. I mainly did the competitive drama, like monologues and duets and things
like dramatic duet or dramatic.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I did that too. Did you go to state and all that kind of stuff, competition?
I did. I was only actually in drama for 1 year, and I mainly just did the plays and then music. Is where I really.
Okay, and so when did you start writing songs? And by the way, you brought your guitar, right?
I did.
Okay, so let's not forget to do that. Okay.
I started writing after high school. I actually had no desire to write, didn't think I could, but I wanted to sing, and I went to a music business seminar. It was a seminar kind of thing.
Conference.
And they said, you have to write. If you want to sing, you really have to write. It's like, dang. And I went to the practice rooms at college, and I just started to try, and it turned out to be my therapy, and it turned out to be something I loved and very much got into. But yeah, it was my freshman year of college, probably started.
Okay. And like, how many songs do you think that you've written so far?
Oh God, I've never actually counted them. I have 2 albums out.
Oh wow.
On iTunes, but I've got so many more I haven't recorded yet, and I can't allow myself to record anymore until I get the rest sold.
Well, we'll definitely have to tell folks, and we can put that up too at the end on the credits.
Thank you.
Where to get your music. All right, because
awesome.
we definitely want to get that out. So what are some things that you write about?
I think for the most part, when it's emotionally, it's more therapy, and I have to get it out. It's heartache or struggles or anger. A lot of times I get mad at injustices and in the world, and I'll throw it into a song to get it out. And then at times I try to have a little more material, so I will think of the positive things and force myself to write those too.
Right.
Or when I'm really excited, I will.
Right. You probably have a lot to write about right now.
I do. I do. I should have more coming out right now. I should allow myself to sit down and write and see what comes out now.
What really gets you angry?
Personally, it's when I don't feel understood. I don't feel like somebody's taking the time to understand. Somebody's judged me. The same thing happens. I think I get angry for other people when they've been, and that's when I get mad when people don't understand struggles,
right?
And have more leniency. We're all human.
Okay. Maybe a little more forgiveness and
understanding that we're all going through different things. We're not expected to be perfect. We can't be perfect.
Yeah. You've said the word therapy, I think, at least 3 times. So what is it that you've had to use therapy for? What were some of the struggles that you really, and was it music that really helped you Was that your really therapeutic base?
It definitely, I have a lot of anxiety. Um, Even though I had a wonderful family, my mother was very anxious. She has her own past. And I think it does kind of trickle down. And I had a lot of anxiety that I didn't know as a kid. My parents didn't know how to tell me how to deal with, and it would just build up and it would come out in very unhealthy ways. And but music is what I have found to get that energy out without in a very healthy way.
Okay. All right. I got two questions. Hopefully, I can remember the second one. First one is, where did that anxiety come from, and what were some of the negative ways that you dealt with it?
It took me a long time to figure out where that anxiety came from, but as I have self-discovered, I realized that it comes from not speaking my mind. Not if something throughout the day, if someone has said something, and I am a very passive person, and I sometimes wouldn't be aware that it was bothering me, and I would shove it under there subconsciously. And so throughout the day, if somebody said things that did get to me, but I didn't say it, I'd put it away, and slowly that builds up over time, and then at some point that manifests as anxiety, and a lot of times you don't know if I've gone through the whole day, or it's usually months that it's been building up. So of
you let it go a long time.
Oh, I tend to, and not as much anymore.
Right,
but back when I struggled more with it.
So are you a pleaser?
I'm a complete people pleaser. Yes, I have tried actively to not be, and to give a little more.
Right. Give a little more for self.
Yes, okay. Yeah, and just realize that you can't please everybody.
Right.
And sometimes that's not it. So not what you want anyway. So.
Right. Okay. Second question.
Okay, now I forgot what the question was.
How did you deal with those things on a negative basis?
I growing up in teenagehood, I did a lot of. I don't call it cutting for me. I call it scraping, because I wasn't really as bad as a lot of people, but I did some self-harm. I usually I'd go away, and somewhere where I could do it in quiet, and I would just scrape at my arm until it bled. And then I'd feel better. And it was usually pretty aggressively scraping, but, and then I would hide it, and as it healed, I would have another release, and especially hiding it from anybody else, not knowing, so that they didn't know. I don't know. It felt good to know that I was in control of something, and I had something that nobody else knew about, and it's kind of my way of taking back that control. Of course, I've looked back on that now. I didn't know that back then. But through my teen years and my young adult years, and I will say I still have urges these days if I haven't taken care of myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be probably the most unhealthy way. And for a while, I actually stopped because my dad found me, and he did the best thing he could have done. Instead of yelling at me, instead of
right.
Whereas a lot of people, right,
shaming you.
Yes, he sat down, and we were outside, because I ran outside when he saw, and I sat down and I started crying, and he just sat right in front of me, and all he did was, like, his tears welled up in his eyes, and that was it, and that's all. And he didn't say anything, but I could see his concern,
right.
And I said, I can't do this anymore, and I stopped for a while. But then, because I hadn't actually fixed the problem, because I didn't know how, then I went to...
Was this, you were 16?
This was in high school,
okay.
17, 18, somewhere around there. And then when I stopped for a while, for early years in college, I ended up forcing myself. I would binge and and throw up and things like that. So
so you moved on.
It went to a new self-harm. Yes.
You didn't really fix it.
I didn't fix it. I just knew that one made him cry, so I didn't want to do that. So my people pleaser fixed it.
Let's do this one now.
Because I didn't know what was wrong, and I didn't know how to fix it, and my parents didn't either.
Yeah.
They didn't know, and I don't think a lot of people do.
Yeah.
A lot of this, our society is not very understanding about mental health.
No.
And yeah.
So how did music play? So let's turn this a little bit positive. What helped you out of that? How did the music help? What were some of the other things? Or did you have a day where you said it just hit you in the head, I got to quit doing this, I got to be good to myself? Or was it just a slow, and you said, hey, I still have urge?
Oh yeah, it never goes away. But it's further apart.
Right.
But yes. But
not as intense.
No. If I'm taking care of myself, if I take those first signs, then I know that I need to go self-care.
So you have triggers.
Yeah. If the triggers are visuals of doing it, and then I know, I was not paying attention. I need to be more aware of my feelings, and then I'll have to sit back and figure out what's wrong. Before I get there, because if I let them build, it goes.
Right.
But no, it took some time, my journey in figuring out all this stuff. And I wrote a screenplay based on it. But it was working I did music therapy for my internship in a psych hospital, a state hospital out in LA. And, I saw a lot of people who had my same struggles. They had very different lives than I had, but they had the same struggles. And it was easier to kind of see how to help them. And then I could apply it slowly to myself. And another part that really helped understand those triggers and things like that was writing the screenplay and writing my story out, which ended up being incredibly therapeutic as well. And seeing myself as the character, because then I could say, oh, that's what I need. I'm really good at telling everybody else what they need. So now I can put myself on paper and not be so, and be disconnected, be objective. And so it took me years of writing and working in this population and learning about mental health to figure it all out.
But now you have it all figured out.
I think a great majority, yeah.
Okay.
I know how to cope with what I need to cope with, yeah.
Have you talked to teenage girls? And I worked in psych for 16 years too, so I saw a lot of this, and mainly it was girls.
It does.
You know,
I've met several guys who have done it too, but yes.
They do. We do different things,
right?
It's not that we don't,
right.
Do bad things, to ourselves. We
just go out and get in a fight or whatever.
Yeah. So what do you? And I don't want to get too much in this because I want to spend a whole segment on it. But have you spent some time talking with teenage girls that have experienced?
Yes, through music therapy. So my degree is in music therapy, and I'll talk about that. But I have opened up to them about what works for me, and the understanding of once I figured out where it came from, and I can help them find out where theirs comes from too. And so yeah, I definitely have worked, and I've taught them how to write songs and get that out through that way. And
right. Well, what has been your darkest time?
Thankfully, I've had a very blessed life. I really have. The hardest part was probably that freshman year of college, where I still hadn't figured out how to, I'd fixed the cutting part, but I hadn't
really fixed the problem.
The problem, right? So, and then I was on my own at that point too. I lost my safety net of my family, and you're discovering yourself. I was still in Oklahoma my freshman year of college. I hadn't moved yet. And that was, I really needed to get out of here. I needed a new place so I could become a new me.
Right.
And so that I think that was the catalyst that made me move, was that year. And it was, my mom also got sick that year too. And there were just a lot of stressors, you know, in self-discovery and all that.
Do you think that, because you said I've had a blessed life in growing up and pretty much, you know, till now, which I have too. I had great parents, and my sister says that my parents spoiled me stupid. So I understand that. But do you wonder, why do I have this anxiety? Why do I? And can people maybe not relate to that, because they might say, well, look what I went through, and it's hard to understand. And this is a question, not a statement. Is it hard to understand, why do I feel this way when I haven't had, you know, I didn't go through cancer. I didn't, you know,
Right.
both parents die in a car wreck, but I still have this. Do you ever wonder that? And do other people approach you about that?
Nobody else has approached me. I'm, of course, my worst critic, I guess. but yes, I always wondered that. And in fact, that's one of the reasons I didn't allow myself to feel. I have no reason to be upset. Why am
I depressed?
Right.
I got this great life.
Right. But we are chemicals. We're all made of different chemicals, and what's going on, we don't know yet about all those chemicals. They know a lot, but they don't know a lot. We still have stuff we don't know. Why people react certain ways to others. And a lot, I think, probably came from my mom, who she was in an abusive relationship, and she had a lot of anxiety and an abusive childhood too with her brother. And so that trickles down, I think. And you feed off of that. But I think what I learned was, it doesn't matter what I've been through. I still have to validate those feelings. I still have to allow myself to feel. And in fact, who knows, maybe that is why I relate to people who have gone through struggles. And man, I do. I tend to draw to them, because I understand that, even though I don't understand their struggle, I understand that chemical that's going on inside, that's causing them that hijacks your brain and makes you do things that are not smart,
right.
And that aren't healthy. So I think if we believe in destiny, maybe that's why I got it. I don't know. But so far, that no one has, I've never, also will say, I know what you're feeling, because I don't. And I don't know what, I can imagine what someone's going through, and I'm very empathetic, but I know I have no clue. And I think that has helped people accept me, because I accept my, help or talking, because I don't know what you're going through, because I'm not in your shoes.
Right.
The only thing I will say that people have called me out on is when I did substance abuse groups. And in fact, it made me go, oh, now I got to go try substances because I want to understand, because I can't come from it if I don't know.
Right. I've lost at least 2 job offers. And then they said, well, what substance do you abuse? We get to the end of the interview.
Right.
And I said, well, I drink lots of Dr. Pepper.
Right.
And they're like, you don't abuse drugs or alcohol? No, I don't drink and I don't do drugs. Well,
right.
You're out of here.
Right. I went the probably less healthy way, and I experimented a bit more so that I could more understand more. But
Mom, this is an experiment for you.
Right, I get it.
It's educational purposes.
Exactly. But and I do see a tad of more in that, because I have experienced it. I can see where the chemicals can actually affect you, but at the same time, I am very lucky, and I do not have that addictive gene.
Right.
So I can't understand that.
Right.
And I have to be open that I.
Right. And to be able to understand people that do have that.
Right.
Which is hard, because they're always going to say, how do you know?
Right. And that in the end, I have to say, I can't judge you. I just want the best for you, and I know it's worked for some people, but I can't, in the end, I can't judge you. If you go back, I get it. I get why you would.
Right.
Because
wow.
if I had your mind, I would do the same.
Wow. Yeah, because you still say, I still have that urge. I'm not going to do it, but
Yeah,
it's
that's
still
where I do
there.
connect. Yes, I do understand that addiction. There is a part. It's just mine is different. Mine's not substances.
Right, yeah, yeah. Well, I really appreciate you sharing that story with us, and we're going to have another section here in just a few minutes, and hope everybody stays with us, or we'll take a look when this one appears. But coming up in our next segment, we're going to have Amanda talk about your profession and what you've actually done as a living and with your music therapy, and maybe give us some insights on how to get rid of some of this anxiety, right?
That sounds good, hopefully.
If she doesn't have too much anxiety.
Right, exactly.
All right, we'll be back, and so get with us later.